Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board Annual Meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. My name is Mayor Pat Bates, and I'm Vice Chair of the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board. Our chairwoman, Commissioner Uribe, is out of town today, so I'll be chairing this meeting. Today's meeting is being conducted in a format which allows the public to join us from the comfort and safety of their homes. Some members of the public have also joined us by way of Zoom. This meeting is being conducted this way in order to safely accommodate all attendees and also observe social distancing guidelines. We also have a team of folks working to ensure this meeting runs smoothly. Today's meeting was advertised in the Orlando Sentinel and La Prensa newspapers, on Metroplan Orlando's website and social media platforms, as well as through targeted emails. Additionally, meeting notices were posted on all access links vehicles and announced using access links' call hold message. And now I would like to ask Commissioner Jim Fisher to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. At this time, I will ask Ms. Lisa Smith to please call the roll to ensure we have a quorum present.
Good morning. LCB members, please keep your mic muted until your name is called and mute yourself once your name has been called. Diane Arnold. Marilyn Baldwin. Chad Ballard. Mayor Pat Bates.
Here.
Nika Berry. Commissioner Fisher.
Here.
Crystal Ford. James Grezick. Norman Hickling.
Present.
Sharon Jennings. Bob Milia. Janae Oles.
Here.
Wayne Olson. Carla Radka. Wilfredo Races. Joe Santiago.
Here.
Calvin Smith. Alnita Witt.
Present.
Adam Zabritsky. Madam Chair, we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Lisa. At this time, I will call on Ms. Whittington for a few remarks. You are recognized.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members and all who are joining us online this morning, and those of you who are joining us here in person. Today's meetings are accessible to the public via computer, tablet, and phone. Instructions on how to share public comments will be shared in just a moment when we arrive at that point on the agenda. Just to call attention to the fact that this meeting's recording will be available for replay later on Metroplan Orlando's YouTube channel. You'll find the links to the YouTube channel and the meeting agenda, those who are joining us online, you'll find that in the chat box. Today's events will begin with the annual public meeting, which will immediately be followed by the quarterly meeting of the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board. The purpose of the annual public meeting is to receive input on unmet needs or any other areas that relate to the local paratransit services. Members of the public will be given an opportunity to address this board. Both meetings have been properly noticed and advertised in accordance with the requirements of Florida's Government in the Sunshine Laws, as the chairwoman indicated earlier. To facilitate the meeting today, the chairwoman will first recognize any speakers who wish to address the board online. Some have submitted public comment cards early. You should raise your virtual hand when your name is called, and you'll be invited to unmute your microphone to speak. You should say your name and the name of the city and county where you live. And then you will need to complete an electronic speaker card if you didn't turn one in prior to the meeting. After all of the online speakers have made their comments, the chair will invite members of the public who have joined us here in person. Finally, any comments that were received in writing or by way of phone message will be summarized for the record. I'll note that each of the committee members has a printed copy at your places of those that were submitted in writing. And then each person who is wishing to address this board will have 2 minutes to speak. Again, please note that it is required by law that this first meeting is for the purposes of getting input and documenting comments received from the public on unmet needs and any other areas that relate to local transportation services. These may be comments or suggestions for improving the service, complaints, or compliments. Members of the Access Links team are here with us today, and they are taking notes also of your concerns. Following the public comment period, there are 2 presentations that we invite you to stay for. One is regarding updates that have been made to the Access Links eligibility application, and the second regarding additional resources available through links. We hope that you will stay with us to hear these very important presentations. Madam Chair, we are prepared to move to public comment period.
Thank you, Ms. Whittington. Please proceed with those members of the public who are joining us online today who have submitted electronic speaker cards.
Again, those of you who are online, when your name is called, we'll ask that you raise your hand. You can use *9 or use the raise hand feature in the Zoom, and you'll receive a prompt to unmute your microphone, and at that time you will be able to begin your public comment. Our first speaker card that we received is from Mr. Bradley Kreider. Kathy or Cynthia, is Mr. Kreider?
Mr. Kreider's not online.
Okay. The next speaker card we have is from Mr. Tim Gruber. Is Mr. Gruber on?
Mr. Gruber's hand is raised. You can unmute now, Mr. Gruber.
Thank you. Mayor Bates, board members, thank you for the opportunity to address this meeting. My name is Tim Gruber. I live in Oviedo in Seminole County. I'm speaking today on behalf of my intellectually disabled son, Clay, who's been an Access Links client since 2016. Despite his well-documented permanent impairment that qualified him for Access Links initially and for 2 renewals, during his 2020 renewal, he was declared ineligible for Access Link services and was reclassified as transportation disadvantaged. So I speak on Clay's behalf today as a transportation disadvantaged client. Clay's fortunate to be able to work 2 jobs here in Seminole County, and he occasionally uses Access Links to get to and from work. Over the past 3 months, we've experienced multiple instances where his scheduled Access Links ride never arrives or arrives excessively late, causing him to be late for work or leaving him standing alone outside a darkened business late at night. Sometimes we get a call telling us the driver is running late, but lately we've not gotten any calls. And when we've called dispatch to try to find out about his ride, the operator can't provide any kind of estimated time of arrival. I've provided this feedback to Access Link customer service, both on phone and via the online submission form, but no one ever responds or follows up with me. We believe that a lot of these problems stem from the rigid and inflexible rules that are applied to bookings for transportation disadvantaged clients. The rules restrict clients to booking their trips the day before their trip. This is not client friendly, and perhaps more importantly, greatly hampers Access Links' ability to plan for transportation disadvantaged trips. I ask you, why not expand the booking window to 7 days like the booking window for other Access Links clients? Perhaps the extra time would allow Access Links to better plan delivery of their services to transportation disadvantaged clients.
Mr.
It would also
Gruber.
be very helpful if Access Links could relax their rules within reason to allow clients who may have made an error in their booking to correct that booking. Today, if a client makes a mistake, such as booking a trip.
Mr. Gruber,
Yes.
thank you so much for your comment. Your 2 minutes have expired. If you would like to submit the remainder of your comments in writing, we will ensure that the board receives those.
Thank you. I'm sorry for running over my time.
Thank you so much for your comment, sir. The next speaker, Madam Chair, is Sanjanette Scott. Ms. Scott. Is Ms. Scott online?
Ms. Scott's been unmuted. Go ahead and speak now, Ms. Scott.
Good morning. My name is Sanjanette Scott from Orlando, Florida in Orange County. I am also speaking today about tardiness. I understand that you all are low staffed because of COVID, but this has really gone long enough. You're late coming to pick me up to go where I need to go. You're late coming to pick me up to go back home. You're making me late for other appointments because you're so late. Sometimes I get a call, sometimes I don't. And I would like to know when this is going to stop. Because I can't take it. I can't schedule something on a day when I have to be somewhere else because it is so unpredictable when I'm going to be picked up. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Scott. We invite you also to please stay after this meeting, and it may give you a little bit more of an understanding of some of the challenges that Access Links is facing. And we do apologize for your experiences that you're having right now. Next speaker is Mr. Scott Porter.
Mr. Porter, you can go ahead and speak now.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to address you. My name is Scott Porter. I live in Orlando, Orange County. I have certainly heard a lot about Access Link service from various people that I talk to, but in my case, I just have a hard time being able to use the service. And every time I go through the process, I get a list of conditions that are required in order for me to use the service. And they're basically impossible to meet. And I tried one time to go through the appeal process. I had to basically argue with the person about sending the form for the appeal, went through the whole filling out of it and returning it, and then heard nothing from the appeal. But for example, on my current conditions, it says you may only use paratransit if the following conditions exist. And then it lists over 85 degrees, no curb cuts, no smooth surface / sidewalk, and then other. I don't know what the other is, whether it's, you know, having had 2 televised spacewalks or anything else. It's just, there's just appears no quality control in the review of these applications. And it's bad. August 13th, I had a procedure at the hospital under sedation. When I was done, they said, you know, when's your ride coming? I said, well, just get me to the bus stop. And they were like, no, well, and eventually they even tried to keep me overnight just so that, admit me so that I could be there, since I couldn't, you know, get an Access Links trip. So I hope they can get some quality control in these review of the applications. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Porter. The next speaker card we have is from Mr. Tim O'Neill. Is Mr. O'Neill online? Next speaker, I understand with your hand raised, is Mr. Matt Ortiz.
Mr. Ortiz, go ahead. You can speak now.
I just started a couple of weeks ago on links, like a couple of months ago. And like I scheduled my ride from coming back from work at 5:59, and it keeps happening. Yesterday it came almost towards like 6:41, and then the week before Monday came at 7 p.m. and I got home really late at 8:30 p.m. from work, and I was the only person in the school parking lot by myself after I was done with work. And then Sunday the same thing happened, like a couple of weeks Sundays ago. It happened to me again. They said, "Oh well, we don't have enough drivers. Like your bus drivers will be there at 2:45," and I schedule it for 1 o'clock to be home by 2. So I know there's not enough Access Links drivers, but there need to be more like communication saying, "Oh, your driver's on your way," like that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Ortiz. We have next Ms. Sheila Young.
Ms. Young, you can go ahead and unmute now.
Good morning. I'm Sheila Young from Orlando, Orange County. I have 2 comments. One, I love the U-Serve service. I hope this continues. It is extremely prompt. They're very reliable. You get a text to tell you that they're on the way. You get a text to tell you they have arrived. My concern is they tell you, look for so-and-so in a white car. And of course, 90% of us cannot see. So I kind of find that humorous. My other thing is, I think I agree that, you know, it's time that COVID not be an excuse any longer, that maybe we need to rethink our pay for our drivers and the fact that they're not getting decent break times. I've heard that from several drivers, not U-Serve. And I just want to say that I love our service and I appreciate everything that everybody is doing. The communication is key. And I think if we're going to be picked up late, we all deserve a call to let us know that they're going to be late, and then we can make other arrangements if we need to. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Young. This concludes the list of those who we have online. Are there any other speakers online who would like to make public comment this morning? If so, please raise your virtual hand.
There's one hand raised, Arlene. Arlene, you can go ahead and speak now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My comment really is the same as the last person that spoke. I've been writing Access Links since 2013, and I've had some ups and downs, but for the most part, I can actually say the drivers that has accompanied me to my destinations have been very courteous, nice, and have tried their best to get me where I needed to be. There has been one incident lately that I was at the Transplant Institute, and my bus was almost 3 hours late. I'm a diabetic. I was having some issues, and I called in to let them know that where my driver was and that my sugar was dropping. And the person that I spoke with told me, well, you're at the hospital, right? Which means she was not concerned. So I now use most of my trips using U-Serve, and I love them. They are awesome. And like the last person that spoke, I hope you guys continue with U-Serve because they're right on time. They're right on the money. I hope, again, like I say, you guys continue to use them and work with your drivers on Access Links to get their stuff in gear because, like I say, they do their best for the most part. Thank you.
Madam Chair, this concludes the speakers online. All right, now
let's hear from those who have joined us in person. As we do this, I want to say thank you again for your patience today and for working with us as we conduct this meeting in this very different format. Ms. Whittington, did we receive any electronic speaker cards before the meeting from anyone who wishes to make an in-person comment today?
We have received 2 speaker cards from those who are in person. The first is from Ms. Alma Rees. Ms. Alma Rees. And we have a microphone that we can bring over to Ms. Rees right here.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Okay, great. I want to start by saying something positive. The drivers are great. They do a great job. We all have had bad experiences. My most recent bad experience, afterward, I evaluated it, and I know this is a brand new driver because she crawled like a snail, was 2 hours late to pick me up. My 2-hour event, I was there just as it was finishing. And in hindsight, I realized she never got on the highway. She never used any roads that get you there quicker. The more experienced drivers, which God bless them, they are efficient. They find the fastest way. They jump on the highways. They get you there. I really think we need to invest in retraining people to, before you take off, get the fastest route there and do it that way. Because if anything, this driver made me really evaluate. And every time I tell them I'm going to get there when it's ending, oh, you're going to get there. You know, she didn't seem concerned. She was a great everything else, putting you on, securing you, but it was just a sense of urgency that was lacking. That's the only thing that I can use to recommend, maybe evaluating them, seeing where you can help them pick up speed. Okay. I know that we're going through trying times, but I just want to say thank you. You guys are doing a great job in trying to help the situation.
Thank you, Ms. Rees. Marianne, for this next speaker, I understand that they're having some difficulty hearing online, so maybe we can move the chair where Mr. Greshik's nameplate is, and I know it's going to show up as Mr. Greshik, but for Mr. Gustafson to be able to approach the Taden there, and you turn the mic on for him. Thank you. So.
Just slide under.
Mhm.
Wow, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Speak right toward that.
Thank you for letting me speak today. My name is Harold Gustafson. I've been using the service for just a few years after I got rid of my car, and I can't say how happy I am to not have to rely on friends all the time to get me someplace. But there are a few things that I think should be changed. And one of them is a simple little diagram handed out to the drivers as far as where the ties are for these chairs. Almost, I'd say about 80% of the drivers, I've got to tell them that there's a bar underneath the middle here where they're to use, not the axle that's on the side. And the other thing is, I found out that a normal person can take the bus for $4.50 a day, all day ticket, where I gotta pay, or we pay $4 for every stop. And that kind of changes your idea as do you want to spend that kind of money to get a $5 item at the store? And one thing I just found out today when I was looking at this pamphlet, I wish I had it before, is how little the state contributes to this process. I mean, if you break it down by user, it's almost nothing. It's got to be one of the smallest items in the budget. And the other thing is, right now it's bad, I know because of the construction, but to get around on these sidewalks and everything else. And why, there's a place on Church Street, there's a ramp to come up, and right at top of that ramp is the crossing light, where you almost have no room to turn. So there's no coordination between the placement of utilities and the ramps.
Mr. Gustafson,
And-
thank you. Thank you so much for your comments. Your time has expired.
Okay.
Links will be giving a presentation a little bit later on about some of the other programs that they are offering. So we hope that you'll be able to stay for that.
Thank
Okay, thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Eric Lutz. Mr. Eric Lutz. On the mic.
All right.
And you just speak.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Good. Hey, how are y'all doing? My name's Eric Lutz. Been a Access Links writer now for about 10 years. It's hard to believe. I just want to say, I'm probably not gonna say nothing new that hasn't been said already. Obviously, we've all experienced slowdowns in the rides lately. I will say this. I think there's a lot of safety issues that need to be concerned here. There's been drivers I've heard come over the radio saying things like, I'm tired. I've been driving for 13 hours. I really need to get off the road. I think that's a safety issue that needs to be concerned. They're obviously being overworked. Someone said earlier, the pay needs to be a lot better. I think starting off at $13 an hour, you could work at a fast food restaurant and get paid more than what you get paid as a starting Access Links driver. I mean, we're human beings that need to be transported in a safely manner, right? We're not like burger patties that need to be flipped. So that needs to be addressed. I think some efficiency things should be one, extra training in the Walt Disney World area. A lot of drivers, especially new drivers, are confused with that. I think little flip phones for the NV drivers especially needs to be provided. I think that would help with efficiency. That way they can call the client themselves instead of using overworked dispatchers to make the calls, especially if there's an accident they're dealing with. I also think instead of buying more buses, maybe invest in tablets for the buses. That way they have access to Google Maps. That way they can be a little bit more efficient on that front. I also think too, y'all need to start using more services like another shout out to Userve, great service. Silver Ride, it's a newer service. Stars, great service. More services like that need to be expanded too, not just during the day, but night. I know my time's up. Real quick shout out, John, driver, Miss P, driver, dispatch, Adriana, Nicole, Shakan, aka Molly, keeping everything tight.
Thank you.
And thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that, ending that on that positive note. We really appreciate it. The next speaker card we have is from Miss Joanne Canellis, who is coming back in, and there was another young lady who came in. I know she spent the time to come down that she intends to make some comments this morning. So we'll.
Is that okay? I take my mask off so I can speak better.
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Joanne Canellis, and I live in 324 Taylor Avenue, Lake Mary, Florida, 32746. Yeah, I'm sorry I came late because I accidentally came here I accidentally came on Lake Central Station, and I had to walk from there to here. And I'm the one who rides on the train. I was supposed to be here with the train, not with my feet. Yeah, we do need 24 hours, 7 days, train and bus service, including holidays, weekends, and nighttime. Okay, and I need to have the bus in Country Club Road as well, the South Country Club Road. From the links, yeah, not links, you call it, Sunroad train station to Seminole State College. You know where that is. We need that as soon as possible. And I've been told that we did win that and stuff like that. That's a good news. So, and we need we need a bus back to Oviedo Boulevard in Oviedo, Florida, where the 434 used to be, or the 434 back on it. So I don't have to walk from there so much every time I come out of there, that I had to, use those small buses, and sometimes small buses don't always come here either. Right, swim at. Yeah, we need a bus there, bus 434, please. Thank you. And we need a bus at where we go to track and field is at the Lake Mary Prep School. Okay. And we need we need a bus in Seminole County every half hour so that no one would be stranded. Please.
Joanne.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you
Yeah,
for your
okay.
comments. Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
Madam Chair, we did receive one last in-person speaker card, and that is from Ms. Pauline Powell.
Good afternoon to everyone here.
Welcome, Ms. Powell.
Let me try to get this all in. First of all, Access Bank called me and said they won't pick me up between 8 and 8:30. I got up at 7, and you see what time I'm coming in here now. That's number one. Number two, I had an appointment for Access Bank to pick me up between 9 and 9:30 about 3 weeks ago. Now I'm on a ground level apartment facing the parking lot. So anything that comes in, goes out, I see it. This Access Bank man, he came in.
Ms. Powell, can you state the microphone?
sorry.
We can't hear you if you walk
I'm
away.
sorry. Oh, he came into the parking lot. He stayed right there, where as he drove in, he took his truck and turned it around and went right back out. Then he told Access Bank I was a no-show. I'm a new dialysis patient. I called the dispatch, and of course I was number 49. But she said to me, well, he put you down as a no-show. I said, you're gonna take the word of a driver over a dialysis patient who needs her dialysis? Well, we can't pick you up. This is what's been going on. This is what's going on. For me, people don't have compassion for seniors. They just throw them away like they're old shoe or something. You accept what we give you. And that's not right. We're human beings. There's a lady that I know, I tried to get her to come. She don't have no legs. Access Link deliberately abandoned that woman. Nobody picked that woman up. Nobody. They deliberately abandoned her. And when she did get home, it was around 8 o'clock, she called her nephew. That's just some of the stuff that's going on. And it's not right. Either y'all need to screen these people that you're hiring, get people that's compassionate, that's caring, that has sympathy for seniors. We're people. And this is not right the way it should be done. I get done at my dialysis maybe 3 o'clock. I won't get home until 6 or something.
Ms. Powell, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to come down and address this board and make your concerns known. Your time now has expired, but we do have Access Links staff here and they will get with you before you
Well, I
leave.
just hope and pray to God that y'all all consider what I said and take it in prayer and ask the Lord to show y'all and help y'all to do what y'all need to do for your seniors.
Will do. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any members of the public who've joined us in person who did not submit an electronic speaker card in advance of the meeting, but would like to make a public comment today?
I don't see that there are any others, but Madam Chair, if it's okay, I would like to see if there's any that may have joined online and would like to make a comment just before we move to those that are in writing. If I can ask the team who's working behind the scenes, if there's anyone who may have joined a little later that may want to make a comment.
There are no raised hands at this time.
Great, thank you, Captain.
All right, did we receive any comments by any other means, either mail, email, phone message?
Yes, we did, Madam Chair, and I call attention to those that were received and they're printed at your places. For the record, I will summarize those. We received a public comment from Ms. Pamela Mason, Orlando, Orange County. She uses the Access Link service. She's grateful for the service and it's very complimentary in her remarks to the drivers. We also received a public comment from Ms. Cynthia Thomas, Seminole County. She is concerned about the time spent on the vehicle. Frequently, it takes her about 4 to 6 hours a day, 4 days a week for a 1-hour therapy appointment. But she says that she is very thankful to have the rides and the service. And then the last public comment that we received was from Mr. Gustafson, who was arranging to come today. So that is all of the public comments that we received in writing and by phone.
All right, thank you to everyone who took time to attend this meeting today to make public comments. We appreciate you addressing this board. Your comments have been recorded and made part of the official record. Again, Access Links staff are here today and they will also receive a copy of the comments recorded today. And next we have Link staff has 2 presentations. The first one is how to ride guide live.
Yes, and Madam Chair, as Mr. Lindy Castillo is coming forward, I want to ask that if it's not in his presentation, that he, for the benefit of those who are joining online and who may not be familiar with UServe, there are some comments that are online, people asking what UServe is. Thank you.
Okay, first and foremost, good morning and happy holidays for next week. So thank you for having us and our organization Links. My name is Lindy Castillo, and part of my position is customer service manager for the authority. So I want to welcome the panel here and thank everyone. Part of my presentation, I know we talked a little bit about unmet needs. And I'm not sure if the folks that are on the phone, on the web, on Zoom, realize that besides Access Links and Fixed Route, we have several programs like travel training that we share with the community. So folks that are interested and say, hey, besides Access Links, how do I ride the bus service? Is there an organization that could teach me on how to use the system, how to buy a bus pass? How do I go into the golinks.com website and path a trip for Saturday? We partner with an organization that will help you do that and free of charge. And that third-party organization would contact you, meet you at a point, probably your house, and go through the motions on how to use our system. And I need to emphasize that it's a great program. It's very useful. It gives you an opportunity to go out there and enjoy the city. Things are getting back to normal, and that's very important. So we do have a travel training program that folks can use and learn how to ride our fixed route system, or what we call our micro transit, the neighborling system. That is a little bit more on the outskirts of the fixed route system, but those little small buses are great to get you to the Walmart, to your supermarket, or to connect you to your Sunrail station or another fixed route. So this travel training program is there for the community, all 3 counties. And we look forward to partnering with anyone who is interested in learning how to use the system free of charge. And if you complete the program, we also provide a 30-day bus pass for you because you completed the program, and we welcome more passengers on those lines. Secondly, for those that are Access Links customers and part of the ADA program, we also offer a program called Access Plus, which lets you ride the fixed route system and the neighborLink free of charge. And so I welcome Virginia for asking us to say, hey, what else is out there? We talked about unmet needs, and I think this is one important one that the community needs to recognize, and we're here for you. I do have a PowerPoint up there for those that are on Zoom that talks a little bit about the Access Plus program, our travel training program, what number to call. But everything is online, and I'll leave for Virginia, we have a pamphlet, a brochure about the travel training program that if you would like, we could give to those folks that are here, or give us a call and talk to our team about it.
And we can invite those who are online. Maybe you want to take a screenshot of that or note the phone number that is option 6 to get more information about the travel training program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Next, we have updated Access Links eligibility application.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. And I think what you're going to see, I'm going to step back here because that is a weird view. So I apologize to anybody that's watching this right now. They just got scared. So anyways, the past year, working in cooperation with the Quality Assurance Task Force and a special working group that we put together, we did make tremendous changes to our transportation disadvantaged, and it's on your screen, application process. In the past, there was only one eligibility requirement, and that was if you were not near a fixed route system, then you were most likely going to be eligible for the TD program and then be able to ride on Access Links. We got together, we worked on it. We know that the demand is high. And we also looked at, there was a couple other areas that we possibly needed to add that were already criteria at the state level at the Commission for Transportation Disadvantage that we wanted to incorporate into our application. So the other two criteria now is if you have a disability and you can go through a medical review, not with our staff, but with your own doctor, and they fill out the form for you, or if you don't meet the, or you meet the income levels that are outlined, which is 185% of the federal poverty level or below, then that's another eligibility standard. You need 2 out of that 3. So it's not real hard. We didn't try to make it very onerous for people to be eligible to the TD program, but we wanted some additional selection criteria. And so the application, we cleaned it up. It no longer has any reference to the ADA program on a federal level. So we kept it and we tried to simplify it. So it's when you answer the questions, you know you're focused on the Transportation Disadvantage program. And if you just want to scroll down a little bit, you can see some of the items that we asked the question. You can see there the disability criteria is applicable. A medical section needs to be filled out, which is section 4 in the application. You're required to, if you're looking at being eligible due to financial hardship, then you provide some financial information, which is part of the application. If you want to go ahead and scroll down. Still 21 days review process. That's a standard. It's been the standard all along. Again, just general information in section 1. You can keep going down. Basic contact information, emergency contact, information that applies to you. If you have a service animal, do you have a cane? Do you have a sight impairment? You know, do you need a manual wheelchair or power wheelchair, et cetera? That gives us and our staff information so that we now can start looking at the eligibility. Are you meeting those eligibility requirements? But also what kind of vehicle that if you do become eligible for the service, what kind of vehicle will you be on? Again, and a lot of people are asking the question, and I'll answer a little bit more about UServe in a little bit. UServe is a TNC, which is they're small independent contractors driving their own personal car. They do not have wheelchair lifts. They do not have big doors, so you could fit a wheelchair. If it can fold in and you can slide it in like a walker of some sort, we can probably get you on UServe. However, if you are confined to a wheelchair or in a mobility device, say electric mobility device, we're going to have you on the MV transportation service that has the proper ramps, that has the proper tie downs, etc. So there is a limiting factor there. UServe has done a great job. You heard the nice comments coming back, and we do try to look at the needs of our customers to fit them on the most appropriate service that we provide. If you want to go ahead and keep going through the. And then we ask questions about how do you normally get around town, etc. How far a bus stop is away from you. If it's more than 3/4 of a mile, you have a disability that unfortunately requires you to be outside and have that accessibility to the fixed route system. And then we go into the verification of the income. Go ahead. You're doing a great job, by the way. So whoever is in the back, they're keeping up. So, but you need a minimum, and you see, you need acceptable forms of verifying your income, recent pay stubs, DCF cash benefits, child support letter, unemployment compensation verification, retirement pension statements, etc. So anything that can show and validate what your income is so that we can see if you meet in that criteria standard. Go ahead, all the way down, please. And then application, you know, and again, we just want to make sure that did you attach the required information that we need to help make sure, validate your address, make sure we know where you're at, and we get so that we can process your documentation. What we don't want is incomplete applications, because unfortunately, if we get an incomplete application, we got to send it back to the client and ask them to fill out and provide the missing information, because we really want to try to get this done in the most expeditious manner as we possibly can. Go ahead, please. So there's a release form on there asking for your concurrence with releasing information to help us make that determination on your eligibility. You want to go ahead. I think the next section is section 4. Yes, and that's where the medical form, and this is where you will have then your medical provider provide that information to us, so that no fax it over most of the time, or provide it right there on the application. We get that information, and then we can at that point then determine your eligibility. So with that, does anybody have any questions? And again, I want to thank the team, the Quality Assurance Task Force, the leadership of Chair Baldwin, and all the members of the team that came together, had a lot of different discussions, a lot of different inputs, and came up with a real good application, we all believe. And it's been working since June 1. So we wanted to just have this education moment here, just in case you're coming up for your recertification process, you're going to see a little bit different application.
Norm, I did just see a comment pop up online. If someone can please relay that question to Norm so that he can answer. It had to do with whether it needs to be a licensed physician, I think. If my
Yeah, I don't believe in RN. No, it has to be a licensed physician.
I want to make sure that that was the right question. Those Kathy, can you or Cynthia please relay that question?
The question was whether it had to be a physician or could a licensed counselor or a licensed social worker fill this out, or even an RN?
Yeah, it needs to be a physician.
Why was that changed?
Why would that change?
Why?
What has changed?
No, why was that changed?
That's what the social worker can. It has to be a licensed physician. It's always been a licensed physician. It's always been that way, Bob.
No, a licensed clinician. It's always been social workers, therapists, or doctors were able to sign this paperwork.
A licensed physician. Or a licensed physician. Yeah, that was the task force.
I can tell you there are gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be negatively affected by that. Because doctors aren't gonna spend the time, aren't gonna want to spend the time to complete even. this small
Bob, you're gonna have to touch your microphone there so that they can hear online and that everybody can hear in the room.
Well, I think what Bob was saying is that doctors will not spend the time but we've had pretty good success in when somebody's taken into a doctor's office and their physician, that they've been willing to fill out the information provided to us.
All right, that may be the case, but I can tell you, there are gonna be a lot of doctors out there that don't want to spend more than 10 minutes with a client, never mind filling out paperwork. So maybe
Thanks,
that
Bob.
needs to be revisited.
And we do have the opportunity to revisit that through the Quality Assurance Task Force. This was, this presentation was in response to a requirement that came down from the CTD that we spend more time during these public meeting opportunities to educate the public also of things that has happened. And since this may be hitting their mailboxes in the next year, we wanted to make sure that in addition to the public notices that Links had sent out, that we use this as an opportunity to educate them as well. And so we could definitely bring that back to the Quality Assurance Task Force to bring forward another recommendation. Thanks, Norm.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, before we close the public comment portion of the meeting, we did have another person to come in, and we want to allow them, if it's okay with you, to make their public comment. This is Pipta Valand. Is it Pipti or Pipti?
Good morning. Morning, everybody. First of all, I start with positivity that thank you very much for our wonderful service, and especially free fare during pandemic and this COVID situation. You help us a lot. So that help us for our shopping and everything, our basic needs. Thank you. And only the late ride problem is still very effective, but I want to request you that during night ride time, please try to do something best for us, because we have to sometimes we have a duty on in our temple or somewhere else. We have to stand outside after 8:30, and outside the gate they close the gate, so it's very scary for us. For me and my son is disabled, and we have to reach time before, because he has to drink medicine before time. So sometimes it's too late for us, and they change our schedule right before time, just half an hour. If we call at 8 o'clock, they said, okay, your ride will be there around 9 o'clock. Don't worry for that. Then suddenly they change and it comes after 10:30. Sometimes it's more than 11. Last week I got my 8:30 ride, I got 11:30. Yeah, it was too much late, and we have to stand outside in that Castleberry temple. Me and my son, we both stand outside. And the driver knows it. The first and the second main thing is security question. When I ask customer service and I call them, they say, okay, you can call 911. We don't mind for that. And 911, they don't. One of my friends, she called one time and they said, we are not supposed to take care of your, because of your late scheduled ride. We can give you support in case of emergency, not for that. So please think about that.
Ms.
And
Valland.
my main other question is airport ride. We don't know that we have to schedule after 12 o'clock ride, 12 to early morning our flight. We have to schedule before one day. So it's not mentioned in that browser too. So please try to mention that when should we schedule ride for our airport schedule.
Ms. Valland,
That's it.
thank you
And
so
thank
much.
you very much for all of you. Wonder bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Madam Chair, just a couple of other comments that were sent to the hosts online that are related to the presentation that Norm gave a little earlier. There's significant concern being expressed by some licensed professionals that there would be a significant barrier to riders getting into their physicians' offices, particularly if they have their services provided by community clinics, that some of the other licensed professionals in their offices were able to sign these before, and they're concerned that this might cause issues for the riders. And I think that was it, though there were 2 or 3 related to licensed medical health. And one that says we're not confined by or to a wheelchair. The wheelchair allows us to integrate into society. Just concerned with the comment that was made, and I don't believe that that was an intentional comment. But that concludes the public meeting portion. All right, thank you. We hope you found this information helpful. Please reach out to the Links team if you have questions about anything that you heard today. We will now adjourn the annual public meeting and move directly into the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board meeting. This meeting is adjourned. And at this time, we will transition into our next meeting. Welcome to the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. My name is Mayor Bates, and I'll be chairing this meeting today. Today's meeting was advertised as required by law and on MetroPlan Orlando's website and social media, as well as through targeted emails. Virginia Whittington, will you please go over the agenda review and any announcements? Sure. Thank you again, Madam Chair and members and all who have joined online, and especially those who are online. If you do not have other obligations within the next half hour to 45 minutes, we would really encourage you to stay on. We have some really important presentations that are being made by Access Links today that may help you to understand a lot of the challenges that they are faced with and how they are addressing those challenges. We heard some of the members of the public mention the drivers and how the drivers should be paid more. And Norm has some information to share in that space. The agenda is prepared and we're prepared to move forward as it's printed. And at this time, Madam Chair, I'd like to ask Ms. Lisa Smith to just confirm that we do in fact still have a quorum so that we will be able to take action on the items that are on the agenda.
Mayor Bates, we still do have a quorum.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to call on Ms. Marilyn Baldwin with a report from the last QATF meeting. Ms. Baldwin.
Thank you, Chairman Bates. The Quality Assurance Task Force met on October 26th in a virtual workshop format. we previewed the 2022 QATF proposed meeting schedule. There was review and recommended approval of the of the annual expenditure report, AER, and the annual operating report, AOR, by consensus. We received 2 presentations from Access Link's mobility service team, one having to do with driver shortages and wage challenges, and the other regarding the upcoming RFP for mobility services. Both of these presentations are on today's agenda. And our next meeting is January 26, 2022. That concludes my report. I do want to take this opportunity to thank the staff of MetroPlan and Access Links for their assistance with our Mobility Week programs and the White Cane Awareness Day program that we did on October 15th. The title of our program was The Blind Experience, Moving Without Limits. And it was a wonderful event. And also want to thank Mr. Gary Hutman and the staff at Links for their wraparound Access Links bus. It was a wonderful opportunity to help the public to become aware of why the white cane law is so important, that each driver yields the right of way to pedestrians who are using a white cane or other mobility device in order to cross the street. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We will now hear public comments on today's action items. Do we have people who want to speak to any action items? If so, these are for folks online or on the phone. Please use the raise hands function found at the bottom of your screen or by pressing *9 on your phone keypad. When we call your name, the host will unmute your microphone. You will see a button pop up that says the host wants to unmute you. Accept that prompt to activate your microphone. We ask that you provide your name and address for the record. Please hold your comments to 2 minutes or less. Are there any comments at this time?
There are no raised hands on the attendees side.
Thank you. Is there anyone in person today who wishes to make a comment or on any of the action items?
I have not received any comment cards, Madam Chair.
Are there any written comments that were submitted before the meeting?
We did not receive any on any of the action items.
All right, we will move into our action items, and I would ask that anyone who makes a motion or a second, please state your name so that we have that for the record.
And Madam Chair, as a reminder, if you're going to make a motion, you'll need to touch the speaker, the little speaker man, to activate your microphone.
All right. First item is approval of our minutes. As a reminder, this request is for the August 12th minutes.
I'm sorry, Joanne's comments are general and they'll be at the end of the meeting, Joanne, since they're general. It's not on the action items at this moment. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of August 12th, 2021. Fisher.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
A second.
And name, please.
Calvin Smith.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Item B is a proposed 2022 TDLCB and QATF meeting schedule. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting schedule?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the schedule. Fisher on the motion.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? This is a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. Item C is acknowledgement of the AOR. Ms. Whittington, please present this item.
Good morning again, Madam Chair and members. The annual operating report that is required to be submitted to the Commission for Transportation Disadvantage was done so as required. And this motion is to request acknowledgement of the AOR, which was included in your agendas, and authorization for the chair to sign the cover sheets that will be submitted as your authorization today.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to acknowledge the AOR and authorize the chair to execute the cover sheets?
So moved, Madam Chair. Fisher.
Second, Wayne Olson.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? This is a voice vote. All committee members, please unmute your microphones. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, the motion passes. Item D, acknowledgement of the AER. Ms. Whittington.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Likewise, this annual expenditure report is required annually to be submitted to the Commission for Transportation Disadvantage by September 15th. That was done, and this is your acknowledgement of that transmission.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to acknowledge transmission of the AER?
Move to approve the acknowledgement of the AER. Fisher.
Second, Baldwin.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? This is a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. All right, next we have presentations and status reports. For today's meeting, we have two presentations. The first one is Community Transportation Coordinator Update. Mr. Norm Hickling, we're glad to have you back.
Thank you. Push the magic mic. And thank you very much again, Madam Chair and members of the board. Today, we're going to provide a little bit and hopefully this information, and I feel very conscious looking straight up my nose, and I apologize. So I'll stand back. You got to have a line here that I don't go across. So anyways, hopefully this will answer some of the questions and a lot of the concerns. And for everybody that's still with us and for those in the room, we do appreciate the concerns. That's the only way we're ever going to improve. We know it's been a very challenging time coming out of this part of COVID, and we recognize that. We live it every day. We are not insensitive to the concerns that have been expressed here, and we really do worry about it. So we've tried to do some things that we hope that are going to address those issues going forward and make life a lot better, especially for our clients that depend on us for their mobility services. So if I have the next slide, or do I advance it here? Oh, great. So we'll talk about some of the service challenges, just kind of give everything into context. We'll talk about some of the impacts that have happened, our improvement actions, and then the board action that has just recently taken place that I think you will find goes and answers a lot of the questions that you have been brought up here, talking about the driver wages, et cetera. And then obviously open it up for any questions that you all may have. So next chart, please. So we're not immune to this national labor shortage that it's on the news every night. I don't care what channel you listen to, local, national, et cetera, it's talking about it, whether it's at the ports in Los Angeles, the ports around, truck drivers, et cetera. We've suffered from that. And as just recently, we did a count with our MV transportation team, and they were up to 75 operators short for our service. So you can just imagine what that impact would be every morning when you come in and you need 330 operators and you only have about 257. That's if everybody shows up to work. That's if nobody calls off for a family issue, if they're sick, et cetera. So it really does impact us on our schedule adherence. We don't want to have people on a vehicle for 3 hours or 2.5 hours. We want to be there on time. Our goal is 91%. We want to achieve that. But when you have individuals that either can't show up for work that day for whatever particular reason, and or you're also short drivers, then you can see we start cutting routes and we try to get everybody to where they need to be. And we know that it's had a major impact and we've been very late. It also causes a lot of delays in our call center because people are calling, where is my trip? And you'll see what that impact here is just in a few minutes. Next chart, please. So we talk about the TNC. That is the U-Serve service that we talked about. They do not take wheelchairs. So if an individual needs a wheelchair or a mobile device to enhance their accessibility around town, and I didn't mean that be insensitive. It would never be in any of my thoughts. So I appreciate the comment to the individual that is watching. I certainly did not mean that. We work this every day, and we understand. We truly do. Now the TNC folks, they're independent contractors. So we don't actually hire them, nor does U-Serve actually hire them. They have them come work for them, and they can choose to show up for work any day or not show up for work. So the way the system is we put out a series of trips that we're trying to put onto U-Serve. U-Serve will then put it out to their drivers, and the drivers will then accept those trips. So sometimes somebody that might have been scheduled on a U-Serve, maybe that driver didn't show up, that trip didn't get accepted by that driver. So then we have to reschedule that individual onto MV transportation, which then with the shortage of drivers just makes for a greater lack of efficiencies on the schedule. So you can just see that domino effect that happens. But we are trying to build that up. We've been working with them since May to increase the number of operators that they have here in the Central Florida region. On any given day right now, we have about 43 that may take trips, and it fluctuates. There's like 125, 30 in their system, but maybe 43 will, on average, will actually take trips on that day. We don't have a taxi program going at this point. Next chart, please. So some of the service impacts, you can just see the number of trips. Our goal is 91% on-time performance. We know when you call and say, I need to be at my appointment at 9:30, that is not really flexible. We understand trying to get to a doctor's office, to dialysis especially, it is critical. Unfortunately, with the driver shortage, our on-time performance has been subpar. We recognize that, and that's why you're going to see some of the improvement items that we're doing to address that. But we do recognize it. We measure ourselves daily and on a weekly basis. Next chart, please. Also, the calls coming into the customer service area have been delayed. When you have almost 62,000 calls, for example, in July, and almost half of those are coming in and asking, where is my ride? Takes a lot of time for our customer service rep to be able to go track that ride as much as they possibly can. Not an excuse, it's just showing the impacts. Next chart, please. So we have worked, as I talked, we have worked with the TNC, U-Serve, and very happy to hear the nice compliments. We are now currently up to about 130 trips a day, and we're kind of right at that level and plateaued right there until we see another increase of independent contractors that can take trips. We do have a plan to get us up to about 250 trips per day on U-Serve. There is that many people that can take that service and utilize that service. And so we want to get them onto U-Serve because they have been very good. We're very appreciative of the work that they have done. But it's just taking time again to bring those independent contractors online. We've implemented an emergency procurement process, which I'm happy to say is almost at the end. We're doing the final touches of going between another paratransit service provider that will help us with about 500 trips per day as needed. And we're just working out the final language, and we hopefully will be announcing that in a very short order that we can put them into service and start meeting some of those demands that we have out there and being able to bring more people out there actually operating vehicles so that it'll help our clients get to their places of employment, dialysis trips, medical trips, recreation, whatever they need to go. So we're really pushing that very, very hard. So that's one of the key improvement areas that we've undertaken. Next chart, please. We've also had a negotiation with MV Transportation. They are our primary contractor. One of the things that we had was a mandate in the current contract that said we would sit down together in a partnership and come together and see what we can do to improve service for the last remaining period of time on the contract. And what we came up with was we need to pay, because due to a wage analysis that was done all through Florida, we needed to increase the pay for our starting operators on paratransit up to $3 an hour more. So as soon as everything is signed, and that is going through that process right now, the starting wage will go from $13 an hour up to $16. But then that seasoned professional, they'll also be seeing a substantial raise in their pay scale also. So it's all across the board. We believe that's going to really enhance our retention of operators because they do have a tough job. Somebody said that they are providing mobility to folks that really need that little extra. And we know that, and they have a tough job and it's in a tough environment. And so they deserve that pay. That got authorized by the board back in October. So they unanimously agreed, very generous in their approval. So we appreciated that, and we're just working out. It will be retroactive back to October 1. So those folks that are in the pipeline now that are coming in fact, as we've even seen anecdotally, the recruitment effort is much more improved. The pipeline of new operators who are showing interest are coming in to and being trained. So we're starting to see a very positive trend of bringing back operators, and even some operators that said, hey, I left, I want to come back. Do we get the new rate? And so, but we're working hand in hand with MV Transportation. So kudos to them, but kudos to the Lynx team for getting this done too. So next chart, please. So with that, any feedback or questions that y'all may have, we tried to address the key points: more capacity, better and more sustained service, and then also obviously recognizing the operators that do such a fantastic job. And you heard the comments today, even though they're late, for the most part, our operators are really good individuals, are professional, and they do want to treat this community and their riders with a sense of caring and strong commitment. So.
Do we have any questions? I see a couple of hands raised.
Madam Chair, this is limited to the members around this dais. You are now in your TDLCB meeting. So if there's a public comment that needs to come, we will take a public comment card from the person who is requesting to speak in the audience. So I just wanted to call that attention.
Okay, well, Marilyn has a comment or question.
Okay, Norm, thank you for your presentation and thank you for your work. Can you tell us if you believe bringing in the additional TNCs will help with that driver shortage in the mornings of 70 to 75 drivers who do not show up for work?
Yeah, we thank you, Chair Baldwin. We absolutely do believe that we have Silver Ride now that is part of the MV team. And so that has helped out substantially in taking some trips. We think the $3 an hour is going to be the greatest. The benefit is that we're attracting more people, a quality operator, and we're already seeing the evidence of that just in the training.
One more comment. For those who are concerned about the licensed clinicians being able to sign off, I'm chair of the Quality Assurance Task Force, and I take, those recommendations very seriously, and we will look at that again at our next QATF meeting, and hopefully we'll partner with Lynx and come to a compromise with that one.
Excellent.
Anything else from the board? Well, Norm, you have the next,
You have another hand, I'm sorry.
oh, sorry.
Mr. Norm, are you all tracking and holding MV Transport accountable for their recruitment?
Yes,
Okay, are they recruiting in-house? Are they using any other services to help expand the recruitment process throughout the community?
they're doing everything they can. They've brought in recruiters, they've brought in additional human resources professionals. They, they're reaching out everywhere they can. I know they're even going to the Amway Center and having a job fair there. So yes, they are really have stepped up and really expanded their scope of how they are reaching out to the community and saying, hey, we are hiring now.
Okay, so thank you for that. So you're tracking the recruitment, but are you tracking also how many people are being hired from those recruitment efforts?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last
Are you
part.
tracking how many people are actually being hired from those recruitment efforts? They can have something at the Amway, but how many people are actually being hired at the
Yes.
Amway Center?
Yes, how many people came in, how many people have filled out applications, how many interviews, how many have been offered positions, how many actually made it into training, and then how many actually get behind the wheel training experience, and then how many actually came onto the actual workforce.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's a whole pipeline. There's several steps to that. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments from the board?
One more, Madam Chair, please.
Yes,
Follow up.
ma'am.
Norm, yesterday when I called to put my ride in, one of the things that concerned me was a comment, and this is a policy. I'd like for us to look at this policy again. That if you have a standing order, you can only have one change per month. I don't see how that is fair or reasonable to the riders. Let's say I've incurred a medical condition and I may need to make a trip to the doctor's office once or twice that month to deal with that medical condition. That right away is going to take me out of my standing order. I think we can do better than that.
Well, I think it's the subscription, it's the change to the subscription once a month. You can always have additional trips that are outside of that subscription that you would have.
So are you saying then that that would not throw that person off of the
It should not.
subscription list?
No.
Very
Now,
good.
you make a change to your subscription, say like you were Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and all of a sudden, because of circumstances, you need to go Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you can make that change to your subscription. But if you had additional trips during that period of time, you can make that individual trip.
Very good. I
outside of
think
it.
that's not clear
Okay,
because it wasn't clear to me.
okay. That's a good point. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I can also call attention to I went to the Commission for Transportation Disadvantaged conference last month. And one of our colleagues, I want to say it was Palm Tran, spoke also about the challenges that they were having in terms of drivers. And they held job fairs at some really unlikely, some of the most unlikely places that you would think you would find drivers. They held them in a homeless shelter. And they came out of that homeless shelter with at least 5 people who went through training, and 2 of them ended up with all the credentials and they are driving. And so I think that that's something that we also need to expand on, is finding, those unlikely places where very talented people are.
Well, just add on to, I can assure you, just a week ago here in Orlando, we had the APTA, the American Public Transit Association, just had their expo conference. There isn't a transit agency in the country that hasn't suffering these woes. So, you think it's only us and we're the bad guys, but everybody's going through it. So that doesn't make it better. It just means that we're all having to think out of the box and
Right.
exactly to look at different areas that we may not have thought about in the
Right.
past.
They actually ended up with even island attendants because, those who were not qualified to drive the vehicles, there are other opportunities within the organization.
I have a follow-up comment to that. It just clicked something in my head. We were trying to, Career Source Central Florida was trying to work with MV Transport. Unfortunately, they didn't want to go through our process. I would like them to revisit that because we also have incentives and grants that we can help the drivers, those who get hired. We have a national emergency grant where we can pay up to $300 per person in support services while they're waiting to get hired for their employment, to go on to the interview and their gas to get to the interview, et cetera. And we're finding that we're getting a lot of people hired having the event at our center. Just last week, we hired 53 people on the spot for different various positions for Disney per se. So I think that's something they may want to reconsider because we are receiving a lot of grant funding to help individuals who are looking for employment.
You and I will talk.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you. Norm, you have the next one, which is overview of community transportation coordinator selection process.
Yes, so if we can bring up the next briefing, please. And just because we're not busy enough at Access Links, so we are at that point where it's time for a contract. It comes up and it's due the end of November of 2022. Which sounds like a long ways away, but by the time you get through, and anybody that knows contracting systems, you know, we are in the home stretch. So it's time to start working on that. So next chart, please. So we're going to give you a little overview as to where we're at in preparing our request for proposal, looking at new proposers of transit services out here for the paratransit mode of service that we provide. Next chart, please. And it's not a real long presentation, but we'll just kind of talk about the current status, where we're at. Some lessons learned going through pre-COVID, through COVID, et cetera. What the request for proposals requirements we're going to look at, and just kind of give a summary of what we're going to be looking at and what we're going to be focusing on when we get those proposals. The RFP timeline, so that you all know kind of where we're at with it and how busy 2022 is going to be. And then any questions or feedback that you might all have. So next chart, please. So right now, the current contract that we have, and that is with MV Transportation, went into effect in December of 2017. And that's what we're working to today. We're on that Amendment 3, which the Amendment 3 was the wage increase that we just talked about here a few minutes ago. Current contract, as I've stated, November 2022 expires. And lessons learned in the nearly 3 years of operations of mobility management model, providing all the guiding principles that we're trying to go forward with in this new RFP and request for proposals coming back. Next chart, please. We really want to limit the number of contract providers that we have. At one time, we were managing 4 different contracts, 4 different modes of service. They each varied in many different ways, and it really just caused a real task for our team. They did it, and they did it well, and kudos to them. And you have Sleeta Stubbs and Lindy and the team are here. But it did cause internally a lot of complications, especially when it comes to billing, invoicing, reconciliation, as you can quite imagine that it made it very hard. So we really want to have just a very limited set. It may be 1, it may be 2 of prime contractors who can then go out and they can go ask for and add on subcontractors to their contract to go meet the demand. So, but we're only then still dealing with 1 or 2 primary providers. Operators must be employees. We really need to stress that. We know independent contractors from a capitalist system, God bless them. They're out there, they're hustling, they're doing their job. But when that person needs to get the dialysis in the morning, I need an employee. Either that individual shows up or I have one that's available that can take that place. And we know that ride's going to take place on time. And so that's not being disparaging to the independent contractor. It's just our mode of service and what we have to do is so critical that we have to have somebody there. When we said 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to pick you up at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then also the contract will not have a minimum or maximum number of trips. It's going to be structured in a manner that if the demand during a summer or say another pandemic, God willing, we don't have that, but if, then we can make that adjustments in how many trips that particular provider will be doing for us on a monthly basis. And that'll provide a lot of flexibility for our management team, but also for the provider, and we can work that out on an ongoing oversight basis. Next chart, please. So the lessons learned are right-size the fleet. We thought at one time in the past that smaller vehicles would be better, but as it turns out, the bigger the vehicle provides us some flexibility. If we get into a situation which we have to social distance again, we can do that with a bigger vehicle, but we can still have a good number of individuals on the vehicle. It gives us that scheduling flexibility. Also allows us to do better route management so that we can keep trips in a common area. So somebody's not, going to Apopka down to Kissimmee, then back up to Orlando when they were only 3 miles away from their, drop off point from where their pickup point is. So we want to have that ability to really have a better type of vehicle. And again, it's a lessons learned. Nothing's wrong with what we have, but it's a lessons learned that we know we can improve. We want to make sure all the technology's connected. So we can see every vehicle out there and we can know exactly where they're at. Anybody on our shop could then be able to, and if you call, we should be able to track that vehicle and know exactly where it's at, or if it had a problem. And that will help us with our reservations, our scheduling, our dispatching, and the tracking of those vehicles like I talked about. And then the technology, we really need to have good handle on it. We can't just outsource it without controls. And so the Links team is going to have much more control on the type of technology that we're using going into the future. Next chart, please. So the proposals, things we're going to be looking for. We want each of the contractors that submit a proposal to understand the demographics, the growth, the changes in geography that seems to change every day. There's always another building, et cetera. There's going to be a lot of new challenges. I mean, at some point we went from 700,000 trips pre-COVID to well over approaching 850,000 trips a year on paratransit. A lot of people are moving here into Central Florida. They love it, but they're going to need our mobility services for them to be able to have access to all the fine things that we do here in Central Florida. Technology integration, they're going to have to show that how they're going to integrate that technology so that we can ease the work and make it easier for our service reps to make reservations and for our operators. We talked about GPS, we talked about mapping. Those are critical things that we want to make sure that we have in place, which we do now, but we can expand and make it much more efficient so our operators are not getting lost or show up at the right address or show up at the right door of a hospital if that's where they need to go, and have that connectivity. Approved efficiencies and effectiveness obviously is a big selling point in any proposal, but we want a team that's going to be committed to this community. Obviously, it's a partnership, it's a long-term partnership. When you get into a contract like this, we are dealing with people that we really need to take good care of, and you can only do that if you have a strong partnership that is committed to the community. Next chart, please. Small print, I apologize, but there's a lot going on in 2022. What it shows in this chart is kind of the different steps that we have to do. Tentatively, we're probably looking at May of 2022 before we're going back to the board at Links and asking them to approve a particular provider and/or two providers and select whoever that next providers will be. And then we start that integration process. And then once we get to September of 2022, we're already operating with those folks. So a lot of work that this chart represents. Next chart, please. So we had an October workshop with our oversight committee at Links. And so we'll be going back to them, meeting the board in December, which is December 9th is the board meeting. And we'll be asking for their authorization to release the RFP. So that is the next step. They are aware of that and it's coming to them. So hopefully we'll have a positive on that and we can go forth and start making this all work. Next chart, please. So with that, appreciate any questions, feedback, comments that you might have.
Questions or comments from the board?
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you for your presentations. Oh, sorry. Thank you for your presentations today. This concludes our presentations. There are 2 general information items for your information. You all have those. Are there any committee members who have final comments? Please use the raise hand function and unmute yourself when you're recognized. All right, it's now time for general public comments. If any member of the public wishes to make comments, please use the raise hands function and you will be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We'll unmute your mic. After you are recognized, please state your name and address for the record and limit your comment to 2 minutes or less. Are there any comments at this time?
Antoinette Scott had asked to make a comment previously.
Okay.
She has her hand raised. Antoinette, you can go ahead and speak now.
Hi, Sanjanette Scott, Orlando, Orange County. Just what he was talking about what you want to do to update. I need you all to update your GPSs in your vehicles would help. Update your app. You wouldn't have so many people calling in if we could actually see where our ride is or how long it's going to take to get there, because it is always not correct. The third thing, I feel like I'm being penalized because mine is $7 each way, not the $4, because I don't live anywhere near a fixed route bus. And even if I did, I wouldn't be able to get to it because I am in a wheelchair. The fourth thing, with the timing, if I need to be somewhere at 7 and you all say, oh, it's 25 miles from where you need to go and we have to give an hour and 45 minutes or whatever, I have been left in the parking lot on Bruton Boulevard at 6 a.m. in the dark because of when you have to come get me. And when the driver calls the dispatcher said, well, you have somebody to go pick up. She's just gonna have to be left there. That is truly unsafe. So somebody needs to take a look at how you're scheduling and the time limits that you're scheduling for. Because if I need to be there at 7 and you come pick me up at 4:30 to 5:15 and I'm there at 6 o'clock in the morning in the dark by myself, I don't really like that. And I think those are all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more?
We have Colette McLeod with her hand raised on the virtual side.
Okay.
Colette, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. And it was fantastic to see this presentation and to get a well-rounded view of what's going on the Access Links end of things. I'm sure you all have been impacted by the pandemic as well. I just wanted to share a little bit about the application and the licensed physician requirement. I work with a program at Advent Health that particularly works with the uninsured and underinsured once they're discharged from the hospital. So for us, it's been beneficial that as a licensed mental health counselor, I can sign that form, or one of my licensed clinical social workers can sign that form, because it helps decrease the time that the patients have to wait to first off get access to Access Links and then getting into the clinic. So for the patients that we serve, if they have to wait until they see a physician, that clinic appointment can take weeks, sometimes months, depending on where they're going. And that means that we wouldn't be able to get the Access Links application started, and then they'd have to wait another month to actually have access to that service. So I would just encourage reconsideration for maybe any licensed professional, like a mental health counselor or a clinical social worker, to be able to fill this out. And my name is Colette McLeod, sorry.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else online?
There are no additional hands raised.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone in person here who wishes to make comments of a general nature?
Madam Chair, we have two speakers who have turned in cards, and I see a third hand up. And also to Ms. McLeod's comment that she made, Marilyn Baldwin, who serves as the chair of the Quality Assurance Task Force, has committed to bringing that item back before the task force, who recommended the changes to the application. And so that will be being taken up again. But we do have Ms. Joanne Cornelis, who's here, would like to make public comment.
I like 324, not 320, yeah, 324. Claremont Avenue, Lake Mirror, Florida, 33746, Seminole County. Yes, I was just, I was thinking about getting me the new, we call it my new card, like the Access Plus from the train ride and stuff. Because I normally ride on a train a lot. You know, I know I got the train pass, but I like to have the Access Plus for train as well, like I did the bus. Is there any possible that anyone can get the Access Plus for train besides the Access Plus for bus? And also like to have the Access Plus for the Access Links too, so that I don't have to pay so much money on that like that, throwing money out. And two, I was going to go in there like at 7. I ended up at 6:30 instead over at the Lake Cane. And I don't like it being up there that early either. When I was supposed to be on 7, I had a bus almost having to come and pick me up before I woke up. They're like 4:30. I would like it better like 6 or, like 6, because it only took 1 hour to be there. And it took me and they wanted me to, they expect me to get up that early in the morning just to get to the Lake Cane that last Saturday, which I wasn't very happy about it either. Just like that last lady just said about her destination, that she was at 6 and she was supposed to be like 7. Like so many hours for just a 1 little hour like that.
Joanne, thank you. We'll have Access
Yeah,
Link staff
thank
get
you.
with you. Thank you, Joanne.
Yeah, I can sing
Always
me
a
with
pleasure to
the
see you.
swimming pool, and that one time it was late, and I had to be there at I had to be there, and I ended up being at like 1 hour late, and I ended up having to go swimming after school detention, which I hate.
Thanks, Joanne. Thank you
Yeah,
for your
okay, thank
comments.
you.
Appreciate you. Next, Madam Chair, we have Mr. Eric Lutz.
Yes. That's his turn.
All right, good. That's good. Let me take this down. Eric Lutz, Orlando, Orange County. Couple things, just kind of responding to Mr. Norm. What's stopping the access board or funding to update, GPSs or put like tablets in the buses? Because they buy new buses all the time. It'd be nice just to buy one last bus and update the navigation. Also too, what another thing, a suggestion would be for efficiency, as I said before, Owl, the company they used to do nights way back when, were not good. But the one thing that was positive about them, they had little flip phones to call the customer directly instead of going through dispatch. I think if the drivers had little flip phones to contact the customers, it would cut out the middleman of the dispatcher, making things more efficient. Also, a voucher program I think would be nice. Maybe a voucher code for Lyft or Uber if the driver is running extremely late, like at nighttime, and it can get unsafe in some of these areas, where it would be nice for someone, dispatch, whatever, to say, hey, we're running late tonight, but we're going to give you a voucher code to use with Uber or Lyft, and that way it'll get you home safely. Or maybe some kind of reimbursement program that where if I have to use Lyft or Uber to get home, they could reimburse myself for the trip. So, and Dinger hasn't gone up yet. I'm just looking to invite any other comments. Oh, how does NV get paid? Is it per mile that I'm sitting on the bus, or is it per trip? That's always been a curiosity factor, because a lot of people are wondering, is the reason why they keep me on so long is because they can burn, they can have us on more miles so they get paid more. So that's just a concern. That's my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lutz. Norm, would you like to just respond to that real quickly, just sharing for those who may be online as well?
In regards to how does
MV is paid? Yes.
We have a contract rate. It's a flat rate. It's not by revenue mile. It's not by trip. I mean, there's a minimum number of trips that they're going to get paid for every month, and we try to hit that. Here lately, we've been going above that number, but if they go less than that, then they get paid the same amount. So there is no advantageous or any benefit to them to keep you on the bus longer. And we have rules and regulations that they have to adhere to also. So just hopefully that clarified that a little bit.
Could you address the first question about the GPSs? Why are
They do have GPSs, and we're constantly updating the map in those GPSs. As you, in Central Florida, the roads are changing constantly, and there's a lot of times, and we got new drivers that have come on. So we've had some issues where they've taken not necessarily the best route, but we have a very, very robust, it's called a MDT, and you have information sent to the driver there. And so we can track the driver. And so we know, and dispatch does that too. Things happen, unfortunately, and we don't want that. Hence the reason why we're going to get more drivers out there, more training, and the newer vehicles, we got those coming in all the time with the latest and best technology.
Thanks, Norm. Madam Chair, the last hand that I saw, actually, I see two hands now. Ms. Valand, did you want to make another public comment that's relative to this agenda today?
Hi, one more request for that. I used to work in different area. So I need to ask that. Last week I asked for the Lake County visitors pass, and the Lake County, they said they don't have this kind of facility. So is it possible to make easy way to go other county for a while, not for permanent? If you are not residents of that county, still we can get that ride from. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Ms. Rees.
Hi, I just wanted to make a comment on the GPS. I think a lot of people don't realize that the bus uses a commercial GPS. They don't use the GPSs that we have on our phone. I have a lot of people, well, just pull your phone out, do it that way. The buses have to be able to make certain type of turns. They can't turn like a car. So the GPS that they have on the bus are commercial because they're a bigger vehicle, and it will tell them to go a longer route so that they can make almost a U-turn without actually doing it in the middle of the street. I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Freeze. That concludes those comment cards that we received for speaking in person.
All right, are there any written or phone comments that were submitted before the meeting?
There were not for this particular portion of the meeting, Madam Chair, but I will inform you all that a transcription of one of the public comments that was made earlier today by Mr. Gruber, we cut him off and he submitted in writing. So that will be sent to you all after this meeting and made part of the public record.
All right, thank you. And you have some closing remarks?
Well, I just want to say thank you to all of you who've joined us today, especially those who've joined online. We know that this is a significant amount of your time and your day to be here. And also to let this board and members online know that we will be advertising to fill 2 vacancies on this board over the next few months. One is for a for-profit operator seat that has been vacant for some time, and to replace Dr. Linda Silverman, who moved to Washington, DC. And so if there is anyone that you all know of, please make sure that you all keep your eye out for the advertisement and recommend those who you feel might be an asset to this board.
All right, thank you. The next meeting of this board is February 10th, 2022. And I want to thank everyone again for joining us today. Happy holidays. Please stay safe. And we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.